song. Let me sing you a song. Let me sing you a song. From dusk and dawn to the early morn to the valley.
Hello, and welcome back to Dusty Tracks, episode 2. Last week, we had the pleasure of talking with 3 different local farmers. And so, in that vein of follow that veggie, we have the absolute pleasure today of sitting down with the owner of Hideout Cafe, Hideout Restaurant, a restaurant that specializes in serving up local produce and tasty, tasty local food. So, come meet Heidi. Hello. How are you this morning?
Hi, I'm great. How are you doing, Emma?
I'm good. Thank you so much for sitting down with us.
It's a pleasure.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Hopefully it won't be too painful sitting on camera with me for a while. I promise many not great jokes, but in an abundance. I promise
Okay,
there'll
so
be an
I just have
abundance.
to keep laughing.
It's usually my strategy. I don't know. I'd love to start off with you telling me about this photo on the wall.
The photo on the wall here in the restaurant is one of many, actually, which is a very famous Cranbrook story. 1926, we had a circus come to town, and the elephants escaped. So it was the Great Elephant Escape, and it even hit the newspapers as far as Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, wow.
And I have a copy of the notice that went to the train conductor of the day that said, "Watch for elephants on track," and they dispersed completely into all the forested areas of Cranbrook, and then they rounded them up. And then there was one special elephant that was Charlie Ed that was named Cranbrook Ed after that.
I love that. It's a great rechristening. So you talk about Cranbrook with a lot of knowledge about the history. How long has your family been in Cranbrook?
My family's been here since the mid-50s. My mom and dad both were immigrants coming separately, and they met here in Cranbrook. Ironically, my mom, she came over, and her aunt and uncle had a restaurant in town, and she worked in it, and she was very young at the time, and my dad was a drywall contractor and used to eat at the restaurant, and they started dating, and I think my grandmother wasn't too thrilled at that point, but then they got married and had a family, and together for 59 years.
So some good choices were made.
Some good choices were made, yeah. So
that's lovely.
Good roots.
That's fantastic. And very much a familiar story, I think. Love in the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did neither one. My mom didn't stay in it, but then she's helped me over the years.
Yeah, I hear she's terrific at canning.
She's canning beer as we speak.
That's so cool. So you opened your first restaurant in 1999. Can you just take me through what that restaurant was that you opened and roughly, broad strokes, where it is now?
January of 99, it was opened a 12-table restaurant. So basically where we're sitting here.
This corner here?
In this area, yep, small restaurant, and it was European international food. I had studied in Austria, and my late husband, he was from Argentina, so we had some South American food, and we lived in the Malaysian part of Borneo, so we had some Southeast Asian food. And so that was kind of the international flair part of it, and the restaurant that we bought was a European one already, so and that was had those roots. So
Perfect.
yeah, and back in the day we were committed at that time to fresh, real food from scratch, and have kept it to this day of 24 and a half years later.
Wow. So then is this next year then? Next summer would be your 25 anniversary? 25 year anniversary?
Next January.
Next January, wow. It's coming up fast.
It is coming up fast. It's shockingly fast, yeah.
So how does it feel? Because at what point did Heidi's Restaurant become the Hideout?
It was, the transition happened throughout 2012 into 2013. Closed Heidi's Restaurant. At that time it was double the size. We had the whole entire top floor here, and which we had done in 2006. And so 2013 completely gutted everything back to 4 walls on this floor and the basement floor, and did a full rebrand and put in a brewery, and put the naming of the restaurant and the brewery out to the community and involved them.
Very cool. And then what are those official titles that the community came back to you with in 2013?
We had intended to only have one name at the time, and there was a lot of people had submitted for Fisher Peak Brewing Company. Fisher Peak is our iconic big peak right here in the Rocky Mountains. It's like 10 minutes from us. And so lots of people climb it and have their wedding photos at Fort Steele with Fisher Peak behind it. So we thought that's kind of cool. But we're also a restaurant, and Cranbrook really wasn't quite ready for a brewery at the time, a craft brewery. So that was a bit of a challenge. And then there was another fellow who had put in the name The Hideout and spelled H-E-I-D as ode to the old restaurant, and then invoking the question of why is it H-E-I-D, and so we decided to go with that name, and then Fisher Peak Brewing Company for the brewing.
Very cool.
Because the Hideout doesn't really work for beer.
No,
not much you could do with that one. So that's kind of how that came about.
very cool. And to this day, are the two companies working completely together, or is there some separation in what you do? How do you run two businesses simultaneously, you and Jordan?
Pretty much completely interconnected. So we brew in-house, so any given time we have about 30,000 liters of beer. And then we have the beer on tap, and we have cans and growler sales within the restaurant. We do sell kegs as well locally, and then we use the beer in our food. And we use, for example, a local butcher called Gwinner's up in the Kimberley area, and he takes some of our Soggy Otter Brown Ale, and then he uses that to make salami, which we bring back, and we use the salami in our charcuterie and in our burgers and whatnot. And then we've done sorbets over the years and used the beer in all kinds of things.
Tell me about that sorbet, because I don't think you can drop beer and sorbet into the same sentence and not elaborate.
It's just kind of a really fun thing to experiment with. And so we did all kinds of sorbets with all the different flavors, and then we haven't done it since the pandemic, but we did it for probably about 6-8 years before that, and we're going to bring it back. And then we also have a local BC cider on tap, so then we would do sorbet out of that for the people that are gluten intolerant or celiac. And then when Jordan, when he brews the Belgian wit, he hand peels about 65 oranges, and he uses those peels in the brew. But then we would have 65 naked oranges that you couldn't really do anything with. So then we turned that into sorbet as well for the kids that were dairy intolerant and couldn't have ice cream.
That's
so
amazing.
It's kind of a, funny mix.
I love hearing how many different pieces you guys think of. Like, I really, when you've been telling us about your business and talking about things, I really see that attention to detail everywhere you go. Like, when we went downstairs, you told us exactly the make and brand and location of where all of your giant barrels came from for making the beer.
Yes.
Just an impressive attention to detail, and like making sure the gluten-free, the dairy-free, and the regular kids all get ice cream. I love that. So tell me a little bit more about, that shows like such a deep involvement in your work and in the community. Tell me more about that. Why are you so involved with the community here at the Hideout?
A few different reasons. First of all, it is my community that I grew up in, so and I lived away and chose to come back, and I love it, and am thrilled to live here. I feel very, very fortunate. The community has supported us tremendously over the years, and me going, through lots of different challenging times, and they've been so supportive. And then I think that's the part of living in a community is being able to give back, and I feel very lucky that I'm able to. And whether it's supporting local musicians and arts with Fisher Peak Performing Artists or Key City Theatre, or the all different organizations that we get to partner with and work with and help them. And then from the food side, farmers and everybody local. I think that just, I don't know, it's what life is all about. Makes life special.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
So tell me more about that. You said your ethos from the beginning has been to eat local food, cook local food, and do it to the highest quality. What kind of collaborations do you have with the farmers and such around you?
We work with a few different farmers. The main one is Christian from Three Crows, and so he delivers products for us throughout the entire year, some that he grows inside, but through the summer, just a ton of all lettuce and vegetables and whatever he has. And so he delivers once, twice a week. And then also when Jordan is brewing, he loads up the spent grain, and so doesn't have any alcohol in it, but it's really, really nutrient rich. He picks it up and then he spreads it and uses it for his farming, and so it's really great that way. And we work with Strawberry Fields, which is a hydroponic farm out of town. We worked with Red Tractor. They've closed down right now, but we've also got fresh hops from them over the years, and different farmers wherever we can. Cheese in Creston, and
that's so cool.
Yeah.
And tell me about this, the hops coming from Red Truck. When was the last time you did that, and how did you get fresh hops here?
Oh, it was a few years ago, pre-pandemic. And it's really cool because they're only about 20 minutes outside of town, kind of Wassa, Skookumchuck area. Mm-hmm. And I went out and I was able to help pick. And it was kind of like a super early morning. They had been picking through the night, and unfortunately I didn't have to go right through the night, but really, really early morning, hand picking all the hop cones, loaded them up. While I was doing that, Jordan was brewing an IPA, and so basically I showed up and he was just a few hours into the brewing, and right there dumped them all into the brew, and it was the most spectacular aromatic beer ever. It was so great because I was uber fresh.
That sounds delicious. And so how does it feel to you as the owner of the restaurant? How does it feel when you're hands-on picking the hops yourself, that involved in the creation of the beer? How does it feel?
Oh, it's phenomenal, actually. Yeah. There's so many aspects where to be in and tasting things, touching things, seeing things from start to finish. I think that's really, really cool and very exciting when it works out at the end and you're like, yay, it tastes really good.
That must be so satisfying. That's so cool.
Yeah. And then we were able to give some back to the farmers as well, and they were really thrilled to be able to taste the end result of their hops and all of their work.
That's really cool. And so how does that for you compare to something that why is it important to be involved with all of the different things you make compared to something that just you're reheating and then serving? What's the difference for you?
I guess philosophy. Mm-hmm. And I love traveling lots and having food everywhere, and the fact that food and drink, whether it's wine and beer and spirits and all of those things, when they're craft, it just has a way of bringing people together, and it's exciting, and it has way more flavor when you're using local, whatever can be picked, and it's not sitting on a truck for 1 week or 2 weeks, and there's just more flavor, and it's more down to earth. And I think our roots as human beings, and it's healthier, and ideally no pesticides and no preservatives in the food. We have a celiac kitchen in our back kitchen as well, so we are able to go that far down to scratch to be able to do celiacs as well.
That's amazing.
which I love that, and I feel really proud. And I guess it's not just a business, it's just that way of feeding and sharing with people with the beer and the food. And we even had the brewmaster that originally taught Jordan how to brew. He did a special blend of wine for us as well, and we tasted with our executive chef and did our own blend, so we can pair that with food as well, and it won silver in Canada. So it's just kind of I don't know, it's cool and exciting.
Mm-hmm. I really hear all the different pieces that you have going and the excitement for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool to see. What is it that what do you love most of all of these different things you get to try and all the different pieces?
I don't think I have one specific part. My background comes from fine dining.
Mm-hmm.
So that part I tend to get really excited about, but I get really excited about training staff and training cooks to cook from scratch and to experiment and not just put something in a deep fryer or microwave, but to experiment with the flavors and the textures, and that gets me excited. I get excited with the beer when somebody has moved from hardcore Budweiser or Kokanee and they've actually shifted the palate, and they'll still drink that, but they've actually shifted along the palate of maybe a blonde ale, and they've actually even gone over to IPA. We have several people like that have gone over to IPAs, and it's like, wow, that is really cool.
That is a full conversion.
Full conversion.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Oh man, there's so much all of that. Is that how you have 5 Red Seal chefs in one kitchen in a town of 20,000?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Currently my director of operations, he was previously executive chef. He just moved into that position about a year ago, but he's from...
And that's Rusty?
That's Rusty, yep, from Fairmont Hotel Chains, ice carver as well. And then I have 2 executive chefs. One is Mark and his family. He's Austrian, similar background to mine, Austrian and German, and his parents used to have the guest house in Kimberley, so he's been with me for about 8 years. Rusty's been 9. New to the team a couple years is John. He's from England, and then I have a couple of other ones, and then I have lots of apprentices that we've been bringing up. So I think I've brought through another 5 to Red Seals over the years.
Wow. And is that part of the training that you do over at the college?
It starts there, yeah, and not a lot of them are students are quite young and they don't know if it's the career path they want. And so I actually have 2 students from this past year working for me right now, so we'll see how they want to further their career. I have 2 other, my sous chef and another young woman who are both former students that are, the one he's working on is Red Seal, and she's working as well on her apprenticeship number 2, and they're committed. This is career path. So yeah, so I get to meet the students and work with them at the college. So I've had that benefit over 18 years to see lots of young people and see them on their path.
That's so cool. And what is it? Walk me through what you teach at the college.
I work in the culinary arts as an auxiliary instructor, and so with that, it's only a couple days a week when we're running our dining room. So we do a 5-course table d'hôte menu, and I teach the cooking students the basics of service. I run the dining room for the college, make sure the guests are having a good experience, teach the cooking students, I guess, the holistic part of working in a restaurant and how ideally all front and back should work together as a team. And then I teach the drier parts, which are food costing and inventory control and menu planning and some of that more theory side. And so I've been doing that for 18 years.
Wow. So many students over the years then.
So many students over the years. Yep.
Wow. So there's so much of this like holistic piece that you run on the daily. We see you having this insanely busy schedule. What is at the base of that? What do you personally love to cook?
I don't have a favorite.
You don't have a favorite?
I don't. Yeah.
If you had to pick
Interestingly, I like Thai food. So I like to do Thai curries and just because I'm really busy, I don't eat at home a lot.
Understandable.
And I cooked in the restaurant kitchen back at Heidi's for about 6 or 7 years, and so with rebranding and going bigger, I'm not really in the kitchen anymore. So that is so I'm not as hands-on as I was. Yeah, I really like. There's a different Austrian dishes, goulash, that I've just grown up with. It straight comfort food.
Yes.
Things like that. That your mom made and then you make, and yeah, it's just
I hear you.
lots of
That's cool.
lots of fresh salads.
Yeah, we ate some of your fresh veggies, and we've seen the farms that they come from, and it's delicious. It's very, very good.
It's amazing. We were able to show our staff at a staff meeting a few years ago. We had some of the commercially available romaine and then the local farm romaine, and it was like that much, like the other one was about like this, and then the local farm it was just night and day.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. Local produce is just so good.
So good.
So good.
Yeah, exactly. And because we live, we're in the Rocky Mountains, so our growing season isn't that long, and so to have things fresh from the farms, local farms, is amazing.
Amazing. So you've talked about your menu a little bit, and there is so much variety to your menu. I saw there's schnitzel, there's laksa, there's poke bowls. How do you end up with such variety on a menu?
Again, lucky that I have the Red Seal chefs and the other apprentices in training, so we do it kind of as a collaborative team effort where everybody's putting ideas in. The schnitzel, the Jaeger schnitzel, is my original recipe from '99, and I can't take it off. I did for about 2 months when I first opened the Hideout, and I had a bit of a community revolt. I had people that they didn't even look at my menu. They just came in and they're like, "Heidi, you don't have the Jaeger schnitzel and the spätzle," and they left. So I'm like,
oh my
okay,
goodness.
I better get that back on. So I did, and so that one stays. And then I'm a really big duck fan. So we generally try and change the menus at least 3 times a year, sometimes 4, but 3 at least. So we usually do some version of a duck dish and halibut, and so we're able to bring that in fresh and fillet it ourselves.
Yeah.
And then all of the chefs have different backgrounds. So John lived in Korea and Australia, and say Mark has his Austrian background. Rusty lived in Tanzania. I lived in South America and Southeast Asia, and so everybody just kind of brings what their experience and their heritage is. Our sous chef is Mexican background, and so it just makes it fun.
Yeah.
We try and change it up. We kind of joke that we're a little bit ADD or ADHD, so not only do we want to keep things fresh and interesting for our regulars, but we also want to entertain ourselves.
I get that completely, yeah.
It's like, ooh, what can we do new?
I understand that completely. There's a reason we are traveling across BC and in a new place every week. I understand.
Yeah, and some things work well, and some things not so good. So we just try and take the feedback from our locals and kind of go, okay, we need to change that one, or that one's a keeper, so maybe we need to leave that on longer. And the masala is another one that we have now as a staple, and that was because we had a chef from India, from Madurai, and became really popular dish and one of our best sellers as well. So that's now stayed on with the Jaeger schnitzel and the fish and chips and a few other dishes that don't change, and then the other ones we get to experiment with.
So cool. I do have a little bit of a tougher question with that, though.
Okay.
As the owner of the restaurant and as the head with Mark running the food, how do you ensure the same quality for all this with such different dishes that aren't necessarily all your specialty?
It's definitely a challenge between Mark, John, and Rusty. There's every single one of them has decades of experience, so definitely that more than helps that just that long many years of experience and dealing with lots of staff. Are we perfect? Nope. It's ongoing, trying to make sure that the standards are there for all of the younger staff, and that we do photos. And when we first want to put out a new menu, we do a food focus group. And so we try and have an age range of about 40-50 years of regulars that travel, and so are kind of foodies and yet are entrenched in Cranbrook as well, and knowing the market. And then from there, as we tweak it, we're doing photos, we're doing standardized recipes, and all the things that try and help for consistency and quality. If we have an issue, say with something where we're bringing part of the protein in from one of the big food companies, and the suppliers having issues, which definitely over the pandemic and even afterwards, supply chains have been a little bit unpredictable, to say the least. I just pull it and I print my menus in-house, so sometimes it's from one day to the next. We'll go, okay, we can't do this consistently, it's beyond our control, it's not an internal control, or we need to do more training. And then we'll just pull that dish until a later time when supply chains are better or things are more predictable, or
that makes a lot of sense.
We just try and be a bit nimble on that, but we do spend a lot of time in training.
Yeah, I hear you. That's really neat. And why is it important to you?
It's from the training side, and from the consistency side, from the guest side. I think that the guest, if it's their favorite dish, when they order it next week or next month, it should be the same, and they should be not disappointed in what they've received and going, that was better last time. And then from the business standpoint, reputation. And so that, everybody's on the same page and we're not inconsistent. And
that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that side of it. It's really interesting hearing so much more about the backside, because we all go to restaurants, but hearing from you is so much more in depth and interesting than just being on the front facing side.
Yeah, and it's critical in our kitchen because we do have the celiac kitchen and gluten intolerant. So we'll have, if somebody is celiac, we have one person that deals with that dish from start to finish, so there's no cross-contamination. We have separate deep fryers, separate ovens. So again, that training is really critical to be able to do that. And the nice thing is making things from scratch, we're able to deal with dairy allergies or garlic allergies, or I don't know, we can generally modify.
That's so cool. And why you have such an attention to detail? Why do you see that as important as part of running a restaurant?
The details will kill you.
Fair. Very fair.
That was a saying. It's funny because that's a saying from about 35 years ago. I was sales manager at the Kimberley Ski Resort, and we had two sayings: never assume, and the details will kill you. And I think they both tie in, because a lot of times you miss the detail because you've assumed. And yeah, that's when the cracks start to happen. And so trying to, I don't know, be proactive and forward thinking with working on the details so that things are done consistently, or if it's our catering side, which is really big, then same thing, all the details.
Wow. So I know we haven't even gotten into the catering and all of the different boards you're on and the work you do with other businesses outside of the farms, but we have already been talking for quite a while. And I feel I've asked you many questions. Is there anything else you want to touch on now?
No, I don't think so. I think it's really important. I hope that everybody supports their local farmers, so that we keep them growing and making a living, and then from that standpoint, everybody eats healthier food. I think that's really important, and I see more and more people with allergies and health issues, and I think a part of it is not eating fresh food.
I agree completely.
So it's a little bit of preachy, but
eat fresh food.
Eat fresh food. Eat fresh food. Yeah, just super important. And
Yeah.
I feel very lucky. I feel very lucky to do what I do in Cranbrook and work with the people that I do.
Yeah. Lovely. Well, thank you, Heidi. There'd been a rumor before that there's a lot of canning happening downstairs.
There is some canning happening downstairs, yeah.
Would
you like
you-
to have a look?
We would love to have a look. We're
Awesome.
gonna pop off the camera and we will follow your lead through the kitchen, down the stairs, and yeah, sweet.
Into the magic
Into
beer
the
canning
magic.
area.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yay.
All right, after
Great.
you.
Okay. Hello.
Every time you take us through here, I get a little bit lost.
It's like a maze. It just keeps on going.
So is this part of what you put in when you did the big renovation, or was there always this massive basement?
The massive basement, but it was a dungeon, a complete dungeon, and it was dark, and my staff didn't want to come down, and you had to go to the back area, which was completely dark, to change the Pepsi.
Oh.
And oh yeah.
We're coming back this time with a camera.
Okay, you need to
Hello.
change your shirt.
Hello, we're back. Thank you. Maybe even just completely off, because we'll be on both sides. Oh, I'm in the way.
I have hat hair. I'm ugly.
And it looks great. Is it okay to pause the music? Huh? Thank you. We should have given you more warning. I'm so sorry. How is it all going? How is it going? Am I in the way if I'm here?
Oh yeah, no, not too many catastrophic failures at the moment.
At the
Machine is
moment?
running nice and smooth. Sometimes the canvas is the pedestal.
Oh.
Just casualties of war.
Am I in a danger zone then
No,
if
you're
I'm
not.
here? No? No?
Maybe.
You look pretty dry. It's fairly dry. Is it all a deception?
I wear like water resistant pants.
Well, I was just creeping a little bit and seeing. Do you mind walking us through what's happening?
So, right over here, we have the pallet of empty cans. They get sanitized. So it's coming in right now to be sanied. Then they come on the table. Then my mom is pushing them as they fill. So the first three little heads put in CO2. They get rid of the oxygen that's in the can, and the second group of three heads fills it. Right now we're doing our hell roaring Scottish ale. And then they get pushed back, slid over, and then the seaming process happens.
And you mentioned there's something very specific about this ale, that it's won some awards.
This one has won gold in Canada, silver in Canada, gold in BC, and it's named Hell Roaring after the Hell Roaring drainage basin between Cranbrook and Kimberley. So we have a little Scottish Viking fellow on the can as well for
Can we
Hell
see
Roaring
one?
Scottish. You bet. Let's take. There we go.
Very cool. Very cool. And do you mind just introducing yourself? I hear you're the brewmaster in these parts.
I'm the brewer and assistant brewer as well, brewer in training. So
And
yes,
Jordan is also the other owner of the whole place.
yeah, so
Very cool.
we're quite proud of our beers. We've got 6 or 7 beers, and most of them have won awards. And we're off to Halifax again this next week to get more awards.
Oh wow.
So we'll see which ones have won this time.
Which one? What is the Halifax beer awards next week? What is
That's the
it?
Canadian National Championships. So
Ah.
best beers in Canada.
Yeah. Something the average folks should know.
There you go. Yes.
So tell me about this beer. I hear it's named for the basin nearby, but what inspired it? Why did you brew this beer?
It just adds to our lineup. So our whole lineup of beer go from a very light beer, non-hoppy, easy drinking, low alcohol for those hot summer days, right through to this is our biggest beer. So almost 8% alcohol, nice big full-bodied beer. You probably only want to drink a couple of them. Very filling. But that being said, as you tried earlier, nice and smooth. What did you call it? A breakfast beer, I think you said.
I think that was you. I think I said
Oh.
it's surprisingly smooth for 9:30 in the
I
morning.
thought you said it was really good for breakfast. Oh, okay.
I think it would be good any time of the day. It's not usually that like a 9 a.m. beer hits right, and it tasted good. And I was
Right?
like surprised. For 9
Okay, I'm not going to go there, but yeah.
Amazing. So of all the beers, which one is your favorite? I know you've brewed many different ones over the years.
Probably the porter I drink most of. So
Okay.
yeah, really nice porter. It won best in Canada last year. But it's nice, kind of like this, a little lighter, a little easier to drink. You can drink a few more of them, but that's my flavor profile. And everybody's different.
Yeah.
I mean, you get 5 guys at a table or 5 girls at a table. They'll all be drinking different beers and they'll be arguing over which one's the best.
Of course.
So it's like food. Everybody's flavor profiles are completely different. So yeah.
Very cool.
So anyway.
Do you have a favorite beer?
I like the hazy IPA. I'm kind of on the bitter profile end, so I'm IPA. Hazy IPA has a ton of aroma, and we do a ginger beer, which I really love as well. We don't have it in the lineup right now, but it's like fresh macerated ginger root. And I'd probably say porter would be the next one. I'm not so
All
much
right.
on the lighter ones, but Jordan's
So-
worked hard on his Pilsner too, making it a bohemian style with floor malted malt and Saz hops, and everything as true to form as he can get it. Right? So he has fun.
That's
Kind of like the
awesome.
kitchen.
Yeah, it seems like across the board, beer and food, you guys are constantly innovating and trying new stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're known for certain things. I mean, as a brewery, we're known for our IPAs, our lazy IPA, our open IPA. They've won awards, and our darker beers have all won awards. And our Pilsners will win awards too. We're just still working on them, but yeah, we're pretty much known for our IPAs and our darker beers.
That's awesome. So we saw over here they're being filled and they're being spun to seal. What's happening here?
Okay, so this is the lid. So they're once again they're rinsed, so they're sanitized again. And we got reusable snap-on lids, recyclable. So guys, bring them back to us. We re-sanitize them and reuse them.
Love it.
So and these just snap on. And then give them a little shake to make sure they're there. And they get stacked, they go in the cooler, they sit there for 24 to 48 hours, pulls all the moisture off them so they dry out nicely, and then they set to sell. And they come out of the cold room, 0 degrees, they get canned, they go back into the cold room so they never get heated up. They're never in a warm space.
Amazing.
A lot of breweries are way more automated.
And instead
So-
you have your mom.
And often Jordan's dad, he's 91. He's also been part of the canning team since 2016. He's not here today though, but so we like to say that we're more of a sensory brewery and hands-on.
Amazing. I see it. The senses are, everything is happening here. I
Yeah.
could see it.
Cheap labor.
Yeah, that is. You know, you do what you gotta do.
I admire it, the dedication. We all go where we have to go to make things get done.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
Family affair.
I love it. How much beer is there going to be by the end of today?
By the end of the day, we're doing two 800-liter lots, so 1,600 liters of cans.
Wow.
Yeah, it'll be a fair bit of beer. So that being said, we sell a lot of beer for the summer, so we're trying to stockpile a little bit before the warm weather hits, and so we don't get overrun. We only sell it locally because we're a very small brewery. So anybody who wants the beer either has to come to the restaurant and get it on tap, or they can buy it in the Cranbrook liquor store. You go as far as Kimberley, the west, and Invermere, Radiant to the north. So
Yeah.
and that's about it. It's unless we want to get bigger, which we don't. Small breweries are nice. It's all hands on, right? You get to taste everything, smell everything, feel everything. Whereas you get bigger, everything's automated, so it's all push buttons. I got some guys that own a big brewery, and they come here and sit at the bar, drink the beer. And they go, oh man, I remember when we used to be able to taste the beer, taste the grain,
touch the grain.
and touch the stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we don't get to do that anymore. It's all automated.
So same as with the food, you really want to stay at the level you're at. You really like where you are.
Yeah, it's exactly food. I mean, it's like Patty says, we're a sensory brewery, and you get to hands-on taste everything. If something's going wrong, you know it right away. You don't have to wait till the batch is finished and then try and do something with it. You can and then you can tweak things as you go, which makes it really nice.
Amazing. And how much beer have you canned so far today?
Probably that's about 600 liters.
Wow.
Yeah, about 600 liters so far.
So we'll be somewhere around here by the end.
Wow.
But two different kinds, so we have to switch over
Oh.
at one point.
What are you switching over to?
We're switching over to that next batch over there, which is our Rattler.
Ooh, the grapefruit rattler.
Yeah.
Grapefruit Rattler, yeah.
So that one is called Chewbacca Rappa Rattler, and it's named after one of our cycling trails.
Yeah.
And when people buy the 6 packs from here, we give $2 to the cycling club for trail maintenance.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's kind of a fun one. So that'll be our first run of the season for that. So we're just have it ready now for the summer season.
That's very cool. I feel like we are starting to get in the way, so I'm wanting to get out of your way. You have a long day of canning, but is there anything else you want to tell us about this process, about your beer before we go?
No, I think we covered it. Heidi just said the Rattler, that'll be our first canning of the year. So there's a lot of people that are very excited about that. They're bugging us nonstop. So
First canning of the Rattler for this year.
first canning of the Rattler for the year, yeah. So that'll be going in the liquor stores, in the Cranbrook liquor store this weekend. So,
Oh, we're gonna miss it.
yeah, I told him it was ready, and he's okay. We'll take all of it. You can't have all of it, but we'll sell all of it. That doesn't matter. So anyway, that'll be this weekend. That'll be out. You can try it. It's on tap. We put it on tap 2 days ago. So
I
you
had
wanna
it on
sample
tap
it?
2 days ago.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it was
There you
very
go.
good.
Okay.
Grapefruit Rattler. I love grapefruit in most things, and Grapefruit Rattler is like one of my favorite beers. Very good. Very, very good to taste. I was happy there was actually physically grapefruit on it too.
Yes.
That was
You got a
cool.
little added touch.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah.
That's the craft part.
All right. Well, thank you so much for showing us how canning works. I've never seen behind the scenes like this. It's very, very cool.
Thanks for coming in. This is cool.
Happy to. Here, I think maybe let's find a quiet spot, you and me. Thank you two so much for letting us interrupt. Lovely to meet you. Thank you. Here, maybe just in front of the fridge here. We're only seeing fish. I just wanted a last moment to say thank you so much for showing us around.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes! That's what we always hope, because we always have so much fun getting to hear these stories and like get to know you a bit and see your fantastic operations. So glad you also enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think
It was
that's
a
all we
pleasure.
have to say. Yeah, thanks so much.
And happy, safe travels across BC.
Thank you. As soon as you move back.
Well, yeah, because I need.
Hey folks, welcome back to Dusty Tracks BC. I am here, well, I'll let that explaining be done by Ferdy here. I'm with Ferdy Belland, local member of the community here in Cranbrook, and a pillar, some would say, through the arts and music that is found here in Cranbrook, BC. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us in this amazing, mysterious place. Would you do the honors?
Well, at first glance, you'd think you were in the Diefenbunker, but no, you're actually in the basement of the Armand Theatre here in downtown Cranbrook.
That is, yeah.
And as you can see, the concrete never stops.
It is astonishing the amount of just this sheer amount of work that has been put into this.
Well, this is a tribute to Armand Blaine, who built the place back in 1952. The Blaine family were wealthy patrons of the arts in Cranbrook during the World War II era, and so when Armand Blaine bought the former Cranbrook Auditorium, which sat on this spot, it was a rickety fire trap. He didn't want to deal with that liability, so after he demolished it, he got the same professional contractors who built the Vancouver Hotel to come all the way up here to little old Cranbrook and build this, a big, massive block of concrete, which will be here, you know, until the continents change shape.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, that's such the picture in my head, you know, 1952, bumpy roads and what have you. And then, yeah, I imagine hand-mixed concrete.
They had a crew over 100 people working on this. And yes, as you'll see as we go further throughout the tour, the Armand Theatre stands 33 feet high with concrete walls that run that height, 120 feet long. As you can see, above us is the underside of the stage. That section there is the front wall of the stage. This is the underside of the dance floor.
Wow.
And this is the supporting wall below it. This is about all there is as far as a basement, because as you can see, this was the boiler room system. This Freddy Krueger prop that you see here, yeah, this is what used to provide heat to the building from 1952 until about 1980 when they switched from coal-driven heat to natural gas.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen something of this magnitude.
There are other boilers in other buildings here in the downtown core that are larger than this, if you can believe it. But what they would do is that this was built in place. They had to build it in place. They didn't take this thing down the stairs and then
Of course, yeah.
drop it off a dolly. No, this was built into place, and then they formed and built the theater around it. And there are at least a dozen examples of other boilers, this being a modest-sized boiler. Larger boilers that are 2-3 times the size that are just covered in tarps or walled in behind a closet, just so they can be out of the way. Because again, no one in their right mind wants to touch something like this, but I guess we're not really in the right mind because this thing's gonna go. But not all of it. We're gonna be taking the front face of this and we're gonna be remounting it upstairs in the lobby, as I will show you later on in our travel log. And we're gonna be reappointing all of this stuff onto the front face of it and paint it all black and shiny, and we're gonna doll it up with some fake gauges and piping to make it seem as if it's always been upstairs in the lobby. But that comes later.
And how did this coal work? How did it?
Well, right here, besides the boiler's location, this was the old coal chute room in the Armand Theatre. And so once upon a time, you know, Farmer Jones would hitch up old Dobbin to the buckboard and go clippity-clopping here to the coal chute, which is a manhole access in the alleyway behind the building. They dump a week's worth of coal into an old coal car from the Sullivan mine, which used to sit here, and then they pull some poor schnook off of the popcorn machine and give said schnook a shovel. And so the schnook would have to shovel coal back over here into the firing chamber until this thing created a head of steam of about 450 degrees, a live head of steam, which would then, you've missed it, the piping was glorious to behold, but piping it into that room where there used to be a system of air blowers which would pop it around. And the poor schnook would have to be in an environment which got to be 45 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Celsius, condensation dripping off of the ceiling, running down the walls, fog and mist everywhere, and gasping for breath, and popping salt pills like they were M&Ms and guzzling gallons of water in an attempt to stay conscious. So after doing this sort of a job, they wouldn't complain much when they got back on the popcorn machine.
Yeah, I'd like if you would just show us the other side of these magnificent.
Sure thing, sure thing. It's like and maybe before we go, I'll show you quickly here into the electrical room.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
This gives you an idea of the size of the rocks that they have inside for support in here. Basically, aggregate the size of duck eggs. We're one of the few buildings in the downtown core that's wired for 400 amp service, so we have more than enough headroom for the audio-visual equipment which we will be installing here in the Armand Theatre. And as you can see, the concrete just doesn't stop even when you're in here.
Wow, yeah.
You know, concrete everywhere. It's like, you know, not a crack, not a drip, not a failure, everywhere.
This is quite astonishing. I imagine, and you can see all the old forms. So I imagine that would have produced quite a lot of excess wood.
Well, yeah, there's photo archives at the Cranbrook History Center which show the concrete forms being built, and they were an architectural masterpiece unto themselves. And so when they poured the concrete for the Armand Theatre, it took them 4 days straight with no stops, day and night, back in the days when you had to hand wheel wheelbarrows of concrete up rickety ramps to get to where you were dumping. They let the Armand Theatre sit for about 30 days before they stripped all of the lumber, and then they had a soccer field's worth of lumber. And so what they did was that they just cleaned up the wood, and they used it to build any of the wooden floor and wall systems that are in here. But instead of having joist spaces or stud spaces, everything is laminated face to face, just left to right for 50 feet full span, which adds to the fireproofing of this. I mean, and that's one of the reasons why this place is the Diefenbunker of the East Kootenays, is because, again, Armand Blaine didn't really want to demolish the Cranbrook Auditorium, but with the rickety fire trap situation, he went all out with the concrete because he wanted something that was fireproof. He wanted something that had good sound and acoustic dampening. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, if you take a look at the press releases of the time, if you look in the archives of the Cranbrook Courier, the Blaine family just wanted to create something which would be a legacy for Cranbrook and be passed down to generations ahead. He wanted something that was durable. He wanted something that wasn't going to be condemned 50 years down the road. Mm-hmm. And, well, as our engineers can tell you, the only way that this thing is coming down is either through tactical airstrike or erosion.
So where are we now?
We're in the main auditorium area of the Armand Theatre. And so as you can see, we have 25-foot ceilings going up in here. And if you're panning around, the reason why the ceiling is done up in the oversized massive louver configuration It's designed to match in with the wall panels because the wall panels stagger in and out at 8 and 10 foot intervals. And that is part of the acoustic design which Armand Blaine invested in the building right from the beginning. Because this place wasn't just a movie theater, although this was Cranbrook's main movie theater from 1952 until 2000. But this is where, say, the mayoral candidates debate of 1958 occurred. And this is where the Sam Steele Sweethearts would have their annual pageants, town hall meetings, you name it. Basically, it was one size fits all. By the 1970s, most of the activity for the Armand Theatre was primarily just being a cinema, showing first-run Hollywood releases. But no, there's a lot of people in town that have very fond memories and have a lot of sentiment towards this building and what it meant to the Cranbrook community over the years.
That's what we've been hearing throughout the community. Every step of the way, it's excitement, old stories, and the future does look very bright for it as well.
It does. We've been receiving nothing but universal love and enthusiasm and encouragement from the community, and that's from mayor and council down through to the Downtown Business Association and the Chamber of Commerce, and all of the arts institutions that exist here in town, and just the common person on the street just stopping us and just being all enthusiastic about where we are in the project and, when are we going to open and what are you going to do inside of it and all of that. So, no, we go through, there's developmental headaches that come with any kind of a complicated commercial renovation project like this, but
of course, yeah.
The headaches don't sting too much because of all the love we're getting.
Yeah, balances out. And where are you in the process of the main stage here, or the facility itself?
We are in the process of beginning what we're titling Phase 3 of the project. We always took this as a 3-phase project because it was based on restrictions that the city of Cranbrook needed to see corrected before they would allow occupancy to whoever bought the building. Phase 1 was we had to do a comprehensive hazardous materials abatement and remove asbestos or other toxic materials that have been left behind over the decades. And so we spent the first 14 months of our ownership of the Armand Theatre, we're talking January of 2020 to March of 2021, basically, as you see around you, painting everything white. Everything that you see, that's all painted white. We had to go over that with a HEPA vacuum first, and then we had to go over it all again with soapy water, and then we had to go over it a third time painting it out. Can't be too safe these days, And so that was Phase 1. Then we were allowed to legally have people who weren't us enter the building. And so that's where we had to meet Phase 2, which was the structural upgrades that were required for the roof system. The roof system above is pretty impressive. It's a series of what builders call Howe trusses, which are the kind of wooden truss systems that you would use to build, say, old train trestles across a river, or old bridges, some of whom still exist up in northern British Columbia. It's the same system that's running from one concrete wall to the opposite concrete wall 50 feet apart. And they're still good. It's all first growth timber that was dropped in Lumberton 70 years ago. Beautiful, beautiful, huge wood. But our engineer from Nelson, Penco Engineering, thank you very much for all of your civil, residential, and commercial needs, came to our rescue and came up with a cost-efficient method of solving the problem, which was in the summer of 2021, we craned in a series of huge 50-foot steel support beams, which are anchored to the opposite concrete walls, and we have a clamping system, which goes from, which goes from the support beams down into those trusses that I spoke about. So it's a simple method, and according to our engineer, we've added 400 years to the life of the building. That's
a good lifespan. Definitely, I definitely see this place being around.
Well, when the beams start to creak, it'll be somebody else's problem by that time. Maybe George Jetson will come to the rescue. But phase 3 is the interior remodeling side of things, which is where we're at now. And again, it's a long, grueling, bureaucratic process, you know. I mean, glaciers move faster than, you know, than certain entities that we have to deal with are moving. But anyway, we're inching it along inch by inch. And like I keep telling everybody, we are not in a hurry to fail. We're into it this deeply. We are taking it in sensible directions. We are using our combined construction experience to solve problems. We're finding cost-effective methods in order to do it. As it stands right now, we're tentatively and hesitantly saying that we'll be operational and open to the public by the summer of 2024. Having said that, some of our other over-optimistic projections were sort of just shot out the wazoo. So it'll be open when we're open, but we're closer to opening than we were before. Once we finally get our building permit and approval from the city to begin the interior remodeling process, which includes installation of our audio-visual equipment, restoring the wraparound acoustic treatment and the draperies around the walls, laying down the hardwood dance floor, laying down our carpeting, installing the upstairs mezzanine bars, installing our lobby fixtures, redoing the plumbing, building the opera box seating in the balcony extension wings, which we'll be using as an adjunct to the upper mezzanine, all that blah, blah, blah. That should be a 6 to 8 month process at most. It's actually, it's the funnest part of the whole process, but it's actually the fastest. So once we actually get busy here with all of our tradespeople, that's when you're gonna start to see things happen in an accelerating fashion.
Right, yeah. Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So here we have, mind the step.
Yeah.
So for those of you out there wondering why there's a 13-inch step from the floor I'm standing on now to this is because this is the only movie theater I have ever been in where the slope of the floor went upwards to the screen and not downwards to the screen. And don't ask me why, only Armin Blaine knows why, and he took that secret to the grave. So, as you can see, we've leveled out the floor, and we'll be building wheelchair accessible ramps left and right to allow people to get, you know, without any hindrances up from the lobby level to the floor level. This will be an open concept dance floor. We will have tables and chairs brought in various configurations based on the types of events that we'll be hosting there. And again, since we are a multi-purpose performing arts facility, what that means is that not only will we be hosting live music, but live theater and dance recitals and comedy nights, spoken word events. We're trying to turn this into a conference destination, a convention destination, wedding facility. We'll have seasonal events here. We'll host spiritual events here. Anything under the sun, because we're aiming to have our events calendar be at least 250 events in a calendar year, which is what we need to in order to make this sustainable. And so, yep. But the floor will be level by that time, by the time we get things coming in. So we're moving into the atrium which separates the main auditorium from the lobby area. There'll be a partition wall built here for fire break and sound break and all that. And there'll be a set of, you know, double doors left and double doors right. Women's washroom is there. The men's washroom is here. Here we have staircases leading up to the mezzanine. As you can see here in the lobby, we've been occupying it just sort of a staging ground for when we begin the renovation phase, but we'll be opening up the existing walls to expose the original brickwork, which lies underneath of the drywall sheathing. And so we'll reappoint it all nice and red, and, you know, we'll repaint the grout lines gray and all of that. The existing concession stand here will be retooled into more of a bar configuration. We're partnering with the Hideout Brew House, who will do all the catering for events that we need where food is required, and they'll also be supplying us with the Fisher Peak Brewery products that they produce. And they're actually going to brew us up an almond lager.
Look
you
forward
know.
to it.
I said, oh, so do I.
Yeah.
And so here at the box office area, there will be a receptions desk for, you know, ticket sales, will call, point of purchase, all the rest of that. And our alcove, which leads out to 10th Avenue. Here, just there's a pair of small administration offices where I'll be doing my work, you know, like in the days and weeks and months and years to come. And then upstairs, here we have the mezzanine. And it's up here at the mezzanine where you can get a very dramatic overview of the actual atmosphere here and the environment here inside the Armin Theatre.
Oh wow, it really opens it up, doesn't it?
Yes, yes. And just like for those of you who are curious, the way it looks right now, this is virtually the way that we bought it. We are the third private owners of the Armin Theatre. Again, after Armin Blaine sold the Armin Theatre, it passed through a number of local hands until the Landmark Cinemas Corporation bought it in 1993. And that's when they twinned the cinema. That's when, here at this area here, there was an actual flat stage that went a full 50 feet from the top of the women's washroom to the top of the men's washroom. And you can still see the dim imprint there on the ceiling where the partition wall used to be.
Oh yeah.
And that's where the movie screen for the Upper Cinema 2 used to be. And so from 1993 until 2000, that's how the Armin Theatre was run, as a twin cinema. But the revenue generated wasn't enough for the people at Landmark Cinemas, and so the Armin Theatre was decommissioned and shut down in 2000 when Landmark Cinemas opened the Columbia Theatre in the Tamarack Mall, which is the current 5-cinema Cineplex. And so, again, by the time we got it, the partition wall here and the upper stage had all been demolished. This steel beam was part of the original structural support for the upper stage. All of the seats had been torn out upstairs and down. All the projection equipment had been demolished. Basically, all that was left was the old wraparound curtains, which were burlap, painted maroon. I just want all the people of Cranbrook to know they weren't velvet, they were burlap, much like the sacks your coffee beans get stored into. And unfortunately, we had to remove all that as part of the abatement process. We couldn't get around it. But anyway, we'll actually be installing nice velvet drapery, so don't you worry. So again, like we're aiming for an occupancy capacity of 450 people by the time that we're open to the public. We're filling in the missing Goldilocks spot between the Studio Stage Door Theatre, the old Masonic Temple on 11th Avenue, which has an 83-seat capacity. And then next comes the Key City Theatre, which has a 602-seat capacity. And we can fill in the necessary gap in between. It's like so we can handle audiences comfortably between events of 150 to 450 people. We can flex for that.
That's great. And yeah, you said it's a multi-use or idea for weddings or events or theater and
anything under the sun, really. Yeah. It's like we're definitely not going to limit our imaginations, because like we say, I mean, like, yes, concluding the renovation process has a number of headaches to it, but then the real work begins once we're open to the public.
Yeah. I can definitely, standing up here, I can definitely imagine coming to a concert. And,
you can see all sorts of potential when you look around here. And if you let your imagination run wild, it doesn't take long before you can see what can happen in here. I mean, don't mind the tools stacked around, or my old bicycle. But anyway, but no, the bottom line is, like, once we get rolling in here, the final phase will go by very fast.
Yeah.
And by the time we do that, there'll be no more hurdles. There'll be no more obstacles. There'll be, no more hoops to jump through. It'll just be, hands on the wood and just, saw in one hand and tape measure in the other, and just make this thing come back to life again.
Yeah.
Because she deserves it. We just got sick and tired of watching her rot for 20 years, and nobody else seemed to want to do anything about it. I mean, we're certainly not in this for a get-rich-quick scheme, put it that way. But it's a necessary part of just adding some cultural color and muscle to Cranbrook, right? I mean, we're advertised as the key city of the Kootenays, and so we need to live up to that. And you take a look at the neighboring communities that surround us, like Fernie or Kimberley, and Creston. They're bustling. They've embraced their post-industrial identities, and they do amazing socioeconomic activity as far as being, year-round tourism magnets. Whereas a lot of people still like to frown down on Cranbrook as being the Prince George of the East Kootenays, which it might have been decades ago, but it's not now. You see all sorts of things happening because it's not just us. We aren't just, lone lunatics trying to hatch an exotic idea on an unsuspecting public. You take a look at the good work that Heidi Romick has done with the Hideout Brewhouse. You take a look at the good work that Jesse Roberts and Fred Williams have done with creating the Fire Hall Kitchen and Tap and now Encore Brewing. You take a look at what Mike and Corinne Robinson have done, taking the old Munt Stereo building and turning it into Morchella Market and the offices of Low-Tech Environmental. You take a look at what Danielle Eaton did with Soul Food and what now in the same space is being done by Mike Nix and his partners with Fenwick and Baker. You take a look at what Greg Eaton has done with the Mount Baker Heritage Hotel, which Fenwick and Baker is located in. There's a lot of people who care about making Cranbrook cool. And even Cranbrook catches up to coolness sooner or later, whether it likes it or not.
I mean, from my first day in this new region that we're in, I'm constantly blown away by what Cranbrook has to offer, and it's continuing to do so now in this building.
As the Beatles used to sing, it's getting better all the time.
So what do you think? What's the drive behind? Because you mentioned that in the past, other people have attempted to do what you're doing. Why do you think there's such a big drive behind you and the community? It seems you're very supported. I mean, I'm sure the others were as well, but.
Well, how do I answer that? I mean, just speaking for myself, this is the third partnership that I've been involved with over the last 10 years that's attempted to obtain the Armand Theatre just to do this, to bring the Armand Theatre back to life as a performing arts facility. I mean, the Armand Theatre meant a lot to several generations of Cranbrookers, and it was just a crying shame to see it again fall into decay and disrepair and just being ignored, because in Cranbrook, sorry to say, we don't have very many heritage buildings or landmark buildings that are left alive in the downtown core, because most of them got destroyed in the late 1960s and the early 1970s by short-sighted greed, right? Not to put too tasty a term on it. And so half a century later, those of us who are now the Cranbrook adults who are trying to do something have to make do with what's left. And pick up whatever pieces we can and insert new pieces as we can. So again, here we are. I mean, what can I say here? All I know is that it was utterly surprising that I find it so surprising 3.5 years later to actually be here, because honestly, after the first two partnership attempts that I had organized failed for various reasons that were beyond our control, I spent a few years just walking up and down 10th Avenue dejectedly, just looking at the Armand Theatre and just saying, wow, like, if only, right? But I wasn't born into money, and I didn't marry into money. My concept is sound. My design and my theme are sound. Again, like, there's nothing exotic or alien about this. You see examples of this all across North America, where entrepreneurs grab, say, an old opera house or an old movie theater, and they turn it into a multi-purpose community facility like this. But I was just saying, okay, it's beyond me. I guess I got to find something else to do. And then one fateful day at the end of November 2019, I get a phone call out of the blue from Spencer Kerr and Casey Wright, the partners who own Casey's Flashings and Roofing, who I knew through the local construction and industrial worlds. And they just said, hey, you want to come up to the shop for some Baileys and coffee? Because we have an interesting idea we'd like to throw by you. So I went up there. They gave me Baileys and coffee. I sat by, I sat with them in their shop, and they got right to the point, and they just said, look, like, roofing has been really good to us, and we want to do something which gives back to the community, and we think the Armin Theatre is it. So we have a cashier's check to buy the building tomorrow, but we're only going to do it if you come in as our partner. And it's not often I get struck speechless. I can talk really well, and I can talk at length, but then I was just... And then finally, when I caught my breath and caught my composure, I explained the same thing. It's like, I'd love to be part of it, but I'm not flush. I can't offer anything. And they said, no, we want you on board. You're the one who's always been kicking the can in the local arts community. You're the one who has, you have the CV that we need for this. You're the one who knows the music industry. You're the one who knows events promotion. You're the one who knows the community. So you're in if you want to be in. What do you say? So I said, yes. I thought about it just that long, a microsecond. And so 3.5 years later, here we are.
That's astonishing.
Gratitude isn't the word to describe it. It's beyond gratitude. Again, so it's really not me who should be speaking into the camera. It should be them, but they're shy.
Yeah.
So here I am.
Like you said, you're not short on words.
No.
They said call Ferdy.
we did.
That's funny.
Yeah, they might have thrown you under the bus there a little bit.
Oh, that's fine. I found a comfy place under the bus after the last 3.5 years. So no, here we have it. So up here in the mezzanine, as you can see, here on this raised area that we're sitting on right now, we'll be building a U-shaped saloon bar, which will be coming off of the back wall. Here, on the lower place where our feet is, there'll be more semi-permanent, but movable, round tables that seat 4 people, like what you see at the Hideout or like what you see at the fire hall. And like I said, we'll have our opera box seating and our balcony extensions. So, and we'll be appointing everything nicely with, dark wood this and cherry wood that, and again, nice, lovely velvet curtains and, sconce lighting and all the rest of it. Mounted on the wall behind where the bar will go, there'll be a mirrored back bar, and then above it there'll be another Armin sign, like what everyone sees outside on the exterior marquee,
Right.
which will be all lit up, and that'll provide the ornamental drama, which will dominate the interior aesthetics in here. And yeah, after that, everything's just a bunch of, again, scribbled sketches that are going to come to life.
Yeah, all very, very community driven, and a lot of support there. And I think it's important for any town or community to have the people that see the vision and want to make a change and have that momentum that you seem to have, backing you to create, be it a space or an event happening in town. It's very important, I think.
Well, no, Cranbrook deserves something like the Armin Theatre, whether or not I'm building it or whether or not Spencer and Casey and I are combining our forces to do it. Just as long as somebody's doing it.
Yeah.
Really, it's just, and a lot of times what we find here in town, there's just a lot of hesitation, and then there's a lot of people that say, oh, that won't work or that can't be done. But then there are people who just roll up their sleeves and just dive in head first and devil take the hindmost. And then what do you know? All of a sudden you get wonderful things like the Hideout. You get wonderful things like Morcello Market. You get wonderful things like, a revamped Mount Baker Heritage Hotel, or the Armand Theatre, you know, or Juniper Lanes emerging like a beautiful butterfly into Encore Brewing. And who knows what's next? If anything, I would hope that what we're doing will encourage more Cranbrookers that have entrepreneurial desires and imaginative desires to not be afraid to chase it.
Yeah, and it's probably a good, a good ground plate or a template for those that, like Casey and Spencer in the background, but just the driving force that may not want to, be the front of it, but also the backbone of it. I think that's also extremely important to have, that motivation for future generations to, even if you don't want to be front and present with it, to stand up and say, hey, we need to make something cool happen in this community, and maybe I don't want to be the forefront of it, but I'll definitely be behind driving it. And
there's definitely quite a few, quiet benefactors that are standing in the shadows out there that are helping these projects come through. And bless them. God bless them, everyone.
Needed. Yeah.
But again, it's just like with what we're doing here, I mean, everyone, well, they're not fawning over us. I mean, it's not as if they cast rose petals on the sidewalk as we're walking down it or anything like that. But again, I just want to keep saying over and over again, as my dad used to say, this ain't rocket surgery. What we're doing here is has been done successfully several hundred times over. If people want to take a look around, Google awaits, where you can see how we're doing what people have done all across Canada and the United States. It's like we're not reinventing any wheels, but this is a certain type of wheel that we want to reinvent so Cranbrook can become a better community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, spark that motivation for others. Yeah,
if that's one of the side results that we can create from what we're doing there, then that's a success unto itself. Just to create a positive example.
Yeah.
And just knowing that stubborn determination will open doors when, lighthearted diplomacy will not.
I can imagine even the burlap drapes. Even if you decide to go with the velvet, I can still imagine it. With the horseshoe balcony there you were talking about. Yeah, coming.
No, it's going to look great. And again, once we build that, I mean, that's a crucial part of our design. We can't ignore that. We need to build those. Because again, those are going to be the hottest seats in the joint, right? As soon as the doors open, everyone will be stampeding up here to try and get to the farthest seat in the, so they can loom over, just like Waldorf and Statler on the Muppet Show, looming over whoever's on stage.
Yeah, a good classic. Do you have any? Do you have anyone reaching out, event coordinators or anyone looking forward to putting on events here?
Oh yeah, as far as the in-house productions that'll happen here, that'll be me. I mean, once we're open to the public, I'll be the general manager, and I'll be filling a similar role to what Galen Olstead does at the Key City Theatre, or what Cranbrook Community Theatre Society does for the Studio Stage Door Theatre. But of course, like any other venue, we're wide open for outside promotional entities or promoters and events coordinators to come in and do something in here. And so there are a number of really keen and motivated local promoters here who now in the post-pandemic days, now that things are opening up and the entertainment and music industry is sort of rattling into place back to the abnormal we used to know before the pandemic. We've got people in town like Mike Davis from Krabby Productions and Isaac Hockley and Cody Stewart and the Key City Theatre itself as well, who are interested in hosting events here. I've reached out to Cranbrook Community Theatre, where if Cranbrook Community Theatre ever wants to host the Theatre BC Festival and if they needed a secondary venue so they could establish, say, 2, 3, or 4 different productions and with tandem sibling stages, we can partner up with them. Again, like that's all part of the multi-purpose piece of the Armin Theatre. But yes, we definitely are reaching, open hands to the community. If some proud parents want to rent this place out so that, their children can get married in here, then yeah, that's what we're here for. Again, we're investing quite a bit into a state-of-the-art audio-visual production facility inside of here. So we'll not be, we'll have a Jumbotron LED screen on the back of the stage. We'll be able to do live streaming and live casting from events. We'll be able to set up to do high-tech, high-quality, high production level audio-visual recordings of events happening on the stage. All of that. So we're definitely trying to come in loaded for bear, put it that way. If you wanted to put it this way, we're trying to create a scaled down version of what you experience in places like the Commodore Ballroom,
Right.
but have it for the scale of a town of 22,000 people.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine talking with some other members of the community. They have young ones and whatnot, and I'm sure they'll grow up fast, and I'm sure they'd have they already have fond memories of the Armin Theatre here, and I'm sure they would, love to see more and make more memories with their young and future generations.
I hope so. I mean, again, I remember coming here again, when I was coming here watching movies back in the 1980s when I was a teenager, seeing Gremlins on the screen for the first time,
Exceptionally scary.
Seeing, Rambo First Blood Part 2 for the very first time on that screen, watching, the Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson Batman, watching, all of it. And even when it became the Cineplex, I saw the very last movie that was shown here. That was
Really?
Run Lola Run. That was the last film that was shown here before it was shut down.
Wow.
Why do you think there's so much love in the community? Why do you think it took 20 years to get this far with restoration?
Well, again, I think there were quite a few people, dozens of different people who were interested in buying the Armin Theatre. I mean, it wasn't just us, but again, because of the restrictions that were placed on the property, that scared off a lot of people because again, it's like, okay, you can buy the building, but then if you're going to be spending $300,000 on a hazmat abatement, and if you were forced to replace the entire roof structure, that's $2 million. And that's too rich for many people's blood. It was too rich for our blood, which is why, again, we just said, okay, let's just point A, point B, straight line. British Columbia is one of the last provinces in Canada where private citizens can do their own abatements on their own residential and commercial property. So we spent $500 on our 2-day shake and bake abatement course where we got ourselves a nice certificate which was suitable for framing, and we put up 200 gallons of white paint. And so, we didn't have to spend $300,000 to do it. Same with the roof. After we exhausted all the local options, we finally found a sympathetic engineering company in Nelson whose firm does a similar projects in Nelson, keeping all of the commercial buildings in their downtown core alive and well. And they've been angels to us, really. They're basically, I consider them to be Penco Engineering is the fourth partner, as far as I'm concerned, as far as the success of the Armin Theatre, because they're doing all-encompassing oversight of all the different needs, not just structural, but the electrical, the plumbing, the fire suppression system, all of it. And that's rare to find engineering entity which wants to go through the bloody headache of handling not just one discipline, but six
Multiple,
disciplines.
yeah.
But they're and they're also people who don't take no for an answer, kind of like us. So again, we need people like that on our side in order to see this project succeed. So even if it is moving at molasses speed, believe me, people, it is still moving.
That's excellent to hear. I still astonished the amount of effort just behind, the cleaning and the paint process, because it's very visual here, sitting here, and it's something that just pops out for my eyes at least. Mm-hmm. But that's a fraction, I think, of the work that everyone behind it has put in.
Oh, it is. It is. I mean, yes, even though I did rupture my rotor cuffs, going like this with an extension pull paint roller for 4 months straight. Again, you gotta, hey, genius is pain. You gotta suffer for your art, remember? But anyway, no, that's just a small slice of what's been done, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
by numerous individuals, and the sweat that is, yeah.
There's a lot of sweat equity that's been invested into this place, put it that way. And again, and there's more to come.
Yeah.
There's more to come. I mean, it may not seem like much. I mean, people walk by and they see the exterior of the building, and they see the hoarding in front of the entranceways and all of that, and they wonder, what are they doing in there? What are they up to? But mostly what we're up to is gnashing our teeth over a hot word processor, sending emails to various people saying, like, we need answers, help us out, but people are helping us out. And again, just give us a few more months, and then you're going to see things accelerate.
Mm-hmm. Do you get that walking down the streets of Cranbrook? I'm sure you have a whole slew of friends that are hungry for answers, but do you get general public going?
I get stopped on the street half a dozen times a week. I'm squeezing the Charmin when in Safeway, and some kindly old lady will be tugging on my sleeve, and she'll tell me about the time that that she saw Cleopatra live at the with Elizabeth Taylor here in this room in 1962 or something like that. And it's like, yes, Mrs. McGillicuddy, soon, please be patient. Or I'll be at the bar and some guy like, hey, Bellin, when you open the arm, come on, get her done. It's like, thanks, Cletus, we're working on it. And so on and on it goes. And but no, it's not an annoyance. It just shows that people care.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And we care too. And again, we've gone farther than anybody has who's attempted to do something with this building. And again, we're over the hump now. It's just, again, the gears of bureaucracy grind slow and slow and slow. But as I said, we're not in a hurry to fail.
Mm-hmm. And they do grind, so that does signify movement.
It is. Again, sometimes it only moves in millimeters, and maybe you got to wait a few days before the next millimeter gets moved. But we're not moving backwards.
Yeah. Man.
Just with an eye on time, I'd love to also hear a bit about you, Ferdy.
Yeah, that's something
Well, let's see here. I've been kicking the can here in the. My family's been in Cranbrook for over 40 years. And I've been, even though I've moved away from Cranbrook many times to live and be involved in the Vancouver music industry or going to music school in Nelson or whatever. It's just like Ray Liotta says in Goodfellas, every time I got out, it just kept pulling me back in. And so, Cranbrook's a good place. A lot of people like to crap on Cranbrook, but I'm not one of those people. I'd rather, again, accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative. And I've just been developing humble parallel careers, being a journalist, being an events promoter, being a professional musician, being a carpenter. And so now here I am, being able to bring all of that skill set together to make this work. And so, do things happen for a reason? I don't know. It's perhaps they do, but if this is a fluke, I'm happy to be here.
It's a pretty fantastic fluke.
I'll say. And so as Hunter Thompson once said, we'd be fools not to ride this strange torpedo out to the very end. So wish us well.
Oh, absolutely. We'll definitely be following and looking forward to, to seeing what becomes, and definitely the drape choice. I'm definitely
Well, it's got to be there. I mean, if we open up to the public like this, where you see like corrugated pegboard
Oh,
and white
no,
paint,
for sure. But I was going more along the burlap versus the velvet.
Well, yeah. I mean, like everything deserves an upgrade, right?
I'd be casting my ballot for the burlap for sure. Painted, but just give it that.
Well, I know. I mean, we are trying to do things cost efficiently, right? But we're not trying to do the old Rufus and Doofus approach to building, a nicely appointed theater that'll capture everybody's imagination.
Yeah.
And also we don't want people to get, like skin burns if they rub against it. It's like
Absolutely. I imagine
velvet's a little softer than burlap.
Yeah, absolutely packed in here on opening day. And,
we hope
and
so.
From there on out.
We hope so.
Yeah.
That's right, people. Once we get this open to the public, it's up to you to help us sustain it. Just to paraphrase Smokey Bear, only you can prevent cultural deadness. Only you.
I don't think there will be an issue with that. I think this will be, yet another, lively place in Cranbrook.
We hope so. We want to just become part of the club.
Yeah.
Because again, there are predecessors before us just in recent Cranbrook history over the past 10 years that have gone beyond the old psychological obstacles, like it won't work and it can't be done, because they made it work and it became done. And so that's what inspired us. And again, hopefully we can inspire others.
Yeah, the drive-through community is very strong.
Thank you, Cranbrook.
Well, coming live from the Armin Theater here, Freddie Bellin. Join us next time, folks.
Smaller Armin sign, which goes like on the back wedge and all of that, and then
Hello, folks, and welcome to Encore Brewing. We are here in the site of what used to be Juniper Lanes and is now Encore Brewery, a craft brewery and a place to go bowling. And lucky for us, the two co-owners, Jesse and Fred, have sat down with us and agreed to tell us a little bit about how this came about. Hello, you two. How are you guys?
Hey,
Hi.
we're doing great.
Can you explain where we're sitting?
Well, you said Encore Brewing, and this is very much the brewing component of Encore Brewing, where we're sitting in the brewery. It's a little bit too noisy in the restaurant / bowling side. So yeah, we're just hanging out on some grain at the moment.
And just for the record, this is downtown Cranbrook. That's where we're sitting. So yeah.
Yeah, an important piece to add to the record. We could be anywhere. This is a pretty cool place. I can imagine at any point in time.
Yeah, something that keeps coming up is for small town interior BC. It's like when guests walk through the door, a lot of them are stunned for a moment. They pause because of we've tried to sort of move forward as far as we can and be on the cutting edge as far as we can from a design standpoint, from the services offered, from the fun that you're able to have, basically.
And the products and everything. We want it to be an experience that someone would expect if they were in Victoria or somewhere like that would be a destination. And so our objective is to bring some of that experience to cute little Cranbrook.
That's amazing. Well, it seems like you've done a very good job of that. It's a Monday night here, and there's so many people. We were hoping to catch a lull, but we did not in the slightest. Is it always this busy?
It is in the beginning it was considerably busier, and now it has got to the point that it's manageable, which is quite nice. But that's right before it's sort of the summer rush. So we are doing our stretching at the moment.
We do have a little bit of lulls, in the afternoon. Kids are still in school, parents are still working, so it's not as intense throughout the afternoon. But every evening the place fills up, and we've built the place to be a place for adults to come and have fun. It turns out it works for kids as well, but like it is built as a place to just come and have fun. Turns out all of us like to have fun, or most of us anyway.
That's good to hear. I think we all need some fun, especially in these wacky couple of years. Like, I'm sure you guys have a huge audience for this.
That was a little bit like the hope and the gamble. Like we purchased this place, a dilapidated business or building rather, that really wasn't functional, and that was right in the heart of the COVID. And so that was a little bit tricky for us to take on that much risk and take on another project in a time where the best laid business plan just wasn't viable at that point.
Yeah, it was definitely a risky time. But you talked about having a couple different businesses. Talk me back through that. So you guys have been business partners a long time. Where did it start? What was your first business venture, and how did you meet?
We are brother-in-laws, so our wives, who are equal partners in the business, are sisters, and we thought, hey, let's increase the risk on this scenario and add a whole bunch of stress to it, and
see if it can hold up.
Yeah, and somehow we're still happy a couple years later, and yeah, so we own the Arby's, the fast food franchise in town. That was our first foray, and then the Fire Hall Kitchen and Tap is a craft beer tap house and gastropub, also in downtown Cranbrook, and that was the second. And then this is the latest and the scariest, and we're doing what we can to make it work.
You talked about how it was scary. Well, tell me about all those different risks. What did you take on in putting this forward?
So the risks were, any business is a risk. Any business in the food service industry is a greater risk. We started with like a building that wasn't viable. Like the building was built in the early 60s and really hadn't been upgraded for 60 years. So we had this idea that we really wanted to build a craft brewery, and we had our eyes open for a couple of years on places that it could go, but we didn't want to just be a regular craft brewery. We wanted to be something that was worth talking about and something worth pouring our lives into for a few years. So the biggest risks were, number one, we were in the middle of COVID. Number two, a renovation on a 14,000 square foot building is not a small undertaking and is very expensive. And through the period that we built it, it doubled in expense just due to everything doubling in expense. So those were the biggest risks. I think the cost to do it, the ability to get through that process and see our way to the end financially, that was probably the biggest risk. The parts that weren't a risk was like our team. We've built a really strong team, and we knew that we would be doubling down around that team, and that was the less risky prospect. So
yeah, and I would just say that, like, this is weird to say out loud, but at the time that we purchased the building, the business plan that we had for the building was illegal. It's like you couldn't have people congregating, you couldn't have people intermingling. It's like everybody needed to be in their little pods. We bought this place when this business plan was not allowed by the powers that be. So that forethought was either brilliant or absolute lunacy, and it's like the jury's still out, but we're having a good time.
The jury's still out. Well, how has it been going? You opened 1 month ago. How has it been going since then?
Been going phenomenally. Like the building turned out beautifully. We're a little bit biased in that assessment, but that's the feedback we've gotten from others as well. The beer has turned out amazing. We have a lot going on here. It's more than just a brewery. It's more of like an entertainment venue. We have a stage for live music. We've had like we've had one event here that was a sold out ticketed event. That was amazing. We've got a bunch more of those events scheduled in the future. So it's a bit of a music venue. It's a games and arcades and a restaurant, but the point of it is the brewery. And so it's gone amazingly. Every one of the beers we've released have been in sort of the top 10% of beers that we drink. And we tend to drink a lot of different styles of beer, being that we own a tap house. And so over the course of 5 years, we've had sort of 800 unique beers come across our taps there. And it's given us a little bit of a unique insight into what the beer scene in this part of the world looks like. And it gives us sort of some high bars to measure ourselves against. So
That's awesome. That's really neat to hear, like all the different things you've kind of pulled from and how you've built this place. So break it down for me a little bit more of all the different things that someone could do. If they're coming to spend an evening here, what would a perfect night here look like?
We have spent a couple of those perfect nights ourselves, but I essentially think that there's almost too much to do in any given night. Like, you can come only for the drinks and the arcade, or you can come only because you want to have dinner, or we've got 3 long community tables. Like, this place had 16 bowling lanes, and we pulled out 8 of them to make space for the rest of our business plan. And what do you do when you have 60 feet long lengths of bowling lane? You turn them into really beautiful, really long tables. So we have 3 20 feet long tables that can accommodate large groups. So that it's kind of limitless. Like, a lot of folks come in just for the beers, and they sit at the bar, a really long bowling lane, and they just really want to know more about the beer. And we're so incredibly proud of the beer. Like, that's one of the things that we're super, super confident in. And then other folks are coming in. Maybe it's a little kid's birthday party, and they're coming in exclusively for that reason. And then, we have like craft milkshakes, which we didn't realize was going to be such a big deal. But it turns out if you design a place around 50s and 60s vibe with a really long bar, people want their stinking craft milkshakes. The pizza, we've had a ton of people say that it's the best pizza that they've ever eaten. So we have a small food menu that was designed such so that it could rotate very frequently. So even though we've only been open for a month, tomorrow is the first day of our second menu flip. So we're trying to do things as seasonal as possible, and we're pairing the food menu with the beer flips. So every time we introduce a new beer, there probably will be a new dish that goes along with it that's like designed to pair with it. So yeah, this place is a bit of a Swiss Army knife. Like, it probably has what you're after, and it's just, yeah, it's worth giving a shot.
So, and I'll just add to some of the points that Jesse touched on with sort of the space allows for a lot of different kinds of events to happen, whether it's a rock concert, or the last one was the comedians that came through on their tour, and we had a sold out crowd. But really what we're after is that sense of adventure. We're adventurous in the beers that we produce here. We're adventurous in the pumps are going. We're adventurous in the food menu, and we really, really like the novelty that comes with all of the variety. So, and that translates into the experience too. There's a huge variety of experiences that one can have here, whether it's just to come and nerd out on beers, or to come and bowl, which is turns out that's a really fun thing to do still. And the cool thing about bowling is a 65-year-old grandmother and her 8-year-old grandson can be having equal amounts of fun at the same sport. And there are very few places or sports or sort of things that can happen at.
We only let one of them drink, though. That's an important thing to get out there.
Just the kid, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
No, I'm kidding.
So yeah, just the variety of it, I think, is something that we're quite proud of and have intentionally designed into it. It's a place that you don't want to just come to once and get your fill. It's like you could come on a Monday and be back on a Friday or a Saturday and not feel as though you're bored yet. So
I love that. I love how much variety there is, and like for someone like me that's like interested in a million things at once, It's so cool to walk in here and be like, oh, there's that. Like.
And we have an on-site store as well, so like not only for merch but for off sales for cans of beer. So that allows for anyone that comes and has a rad experience and wants to take some of that home with them. We encourage that.
Or for those of us who are here working
and
then going home. So you have all these different rotating things. How do you keep up? How are you constantly coming up with new beers and new meals? Like, sounds like you're changing once a month. How do you maintain that timeline?
The only way to do cool projects like this is to have a extremely capable and passionate team. And so it's like we have a couple of chefs that are really passionate about what they're doing, and they're constantly bringing new dishes to us and like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? The chefs are working really closely with the brewer as far as, hey, like, what ingredients are you, oh, okay, so you've got a corn pilsner coming up, sweet, we'll do some type of an elote pizza. And we it's like Fred and I have the luxury of getting to bounce from like a really fun group about the brewing and like what's coming down the pipe and what should we do this and have you heard of these things, and then we can switch over to the food side, and then we can switch over to the front of house side and the restaurant and the bowling. It's like we have an incredibly talented team, and so that's the only way we can keep up with all of these different things, is that all like a large number of wonderful people have all decided, hey, let's make this thing crush, and it is. So
It's crushing.
yeah.
Did you have anything to add to?
I would just double down on that. It's like if Jesse and I, or our wives who are equal partners in this, if any of us were the limiting factor, it wouldn't be able to function or be as cool as it is. We oftentimes like give our input and like have our high standards that we hold ourselves and our team to, but it's like in any one space there's someone that knows more about what they're doing than we would, whether it's in the kitchen or in the brewery or in the games and behind the bar. There are people who are far more talented at their roles than we are, and we try to empower them, we try to support them. I shouldn't say we try, we very much do empower them and support them, and then get the hell out of their way and allow them to do their thing.
Yeah, I would say sometimes the thing that we do is pour them a beer at the end of their shift. That might be our contribution, and it's an important one. Like we hang out with our team, and we go for adventures with our team, and we host family dinners with our team, and we will shut down our restaurants to have the team in to try the new menu items and to talk about what's working and what's not working. And we love being a part of a team.
We could talk all day about the team. It's like the facility is cool, the idea, the space, all of that is great, but none of it works without a very committed and talented group of people looking after it. And like we happen to be on that team and we happen to lead that team, but it's definitely not because of us.
We essentially get to pay the coolest people that we know to hang out with us on a regular basis, so it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see how much more there was about your team, because that was great. That's the best description of a team I've heard in a while. And tell me about your wives. They're both equal partners in this, but they don't like being the faces?
Well, it's like, ironically, they're really pretty, both of them, but
So
no,
they should be the face.
They quietly do a ton of the really important work, and then very kindly allow Fred and I to take a lot of the credit. But they do a lot of the thankless tasks and the bones of things. Like they really keep things going. Yeah, so they're a massive part of things, and they keep us in check as well. Like I think Fred probably would label himself as a dreamer, and myself as well. And every once in a while, we need to be told that some of our ideas are stupid, and so they come in clutch.
Yeah. Luckily for us, though, they somehow did support this crazy idea of going and doing a brewery. It was more of a passion project for the two of us than it was for the two of them. They own just as much of the businesses as we do and took on equal risk as we did, and were incredibly supportive of the silly idea of going and starting a brewery and a bowling alley. So like they're just as much invested for sure as us, and they handle a lot of the payroll and a lot of the systems that allow the business like this to function. So they spend time here every day, and really kind of are the glue that holds us all together in a lot of ways.
It's lovely.
Well,
Well said. Can't show any logos. So luckily Mike's more on it than I am. Speaking of glue that holds things together.
Is our logo acceptable?
Yes.
Absolutely. We want to see that constantly. That's why we're trying to get the big encore behind us.
Yeah.
That was the goal. I don't know if everyone can see it, but
Yeah.
So, and it might be worth bringing up why we chose the name Encore, just for people that wonder why. If they walk in here, you'll see the word Encore virtually everywhere.
One or two places.
So,
That was my next question.
Encore
Go on.
basically just means again. And for us, we opened Fire Hall Kitchen and Tap in downtown Cranbrook. And really, it was meant to be a place for the community to come together and have meaningful conversations and be a bit of a place for our culture to develop and to grow. And we opened Fire Hall Kitchen and Tap in the summer of 2018 and just got steamrolled all summer. And it just turned out it was meaningful to the community. The community has shown up and supported us. And like that was very exciting for us, and also a little bit humbling what it actually meant to the community for us to take on that risk and to go create something that was special and unique. And we had a meeting about a few months after opening, and it was a bit of a revelation to us, like how much doing something that matters to the community, like how meaningful that is. And so we kind of made a commitment that, hey, if we ever do another business, it has to tick that box. It has to be meaningful. It has to move the culture and the quality of life in our community forward. And so when we were dreaming about what we would do next, that was kind of the parameters we set for ourselves. And so Encore was us attempting to do that again, to do something meaningful for our community and something that like enhances the quality of life for all of us that live here.
Nope. I'm not going to follow that up. That is why we're all here.
Very well said. Tell me a little more about that, because you two are both from Cranbrook, right?
Yeah, we both live here. I'm not from Cranbrook originally, but like my wife is from here. The oldest story in the book, I married her, and eventually we wound up moving back here and following. We've loved the place ever since. And then Jesse and his wife lived here, and they're part of the reason we decided to move back to Cranbrook, honestly.
Yeah, I was born in the Cranbrook Hospital and then grew up in sort of a variety of ski villages in the Kootenays, and then Cranbrook maybe had enough opportunity, and now we're are we ever committed? Like Cranbrook is home, and we love it. Like it has a great disc golf scene. It has an amazing mountain bike scene. If you can measure like the health of a city off of the new mountain bike trails, like we are doing so well. And the new breweries, I hear they're good. Cranbrook is very much home, and we live lives that do allow us to travel and check out other places, which is amazing. And that's where inspiration lives and whatnot. But I will tell you, it's like coming home, man. That's the sweet spot.
It's good to hear. So Cranbrook is home and community.
Yeah.
Why build places that are revitalizing old places? Like you took a fire hall, turned it into a tap house. You took an old. Why revitalize instead of start something new?
We can't afford to build new places. It's like everything in here that can be recycled is recycled. Like I said earlier, we've used the bowling lanes to be tables or bar tops, or essentially any horizontal surface is a repurposed bowling lane. We do try to reduce our carbon footprint where possible. We love the story of using old things. And I won't say that cost isn't an issue. Like we do find broken down old buildings and then I will say this is largely Fred, put an incredible amount of effort and energy and love and blood and sweat and tears into turning them into something beautiful. But it's like, man, that just makes the story. That's what people get excited about. like you go to Fire Hall and you can experience things that are 90, 100 years old. Brick that was sort of mined locally, and wood that was milled locally, and then you come over here and you see it's like a lot of our tables still have the dents in them from where the balls made impact from somebody's drunken throw 30 years ago. Like, we're fans of the story. We don't do what we do for the money. We do what we do for the story.
Yeah, and like it has more meaning for me personally. It has more meaning to take something that has already lived its life out and run its course, and it takes a certain amount of vision, which I will give Jesse a lot of credit for. Like to take something that has already been completely used up, and in a lot of people's minds should be knocked over and started over with. I think it to add on to Jesse's point about the story, it really just, there's a certain continuity and a certain like regeneration that just speaks to me. Whether it's the 60-year-old bowling alley that was kind of on the verge of collapse and needed all new systems and brought up to current 2023 code, that's a very challenging prospect, which maybe I'm a little bit of a sucker for a challenge, so that's how I get roped into those. It does wind up being a huge commitment. Like, this project was 2 full years of like solving problems that couldn't be solved by professionals. And that's not to take anything away from the professionals that know how to design systems and create buildings, but where they can see obstacles, we have to see solutions, and we have to see ways through those obstacles. And I think that kind of appeals to my ego a little bit, to be able to solve a problem that, a professional would label it as unsolvable and you should start over. But like Jesse said, the wood that has been on site, like in the fire hall, it's been there for 90 something years. Most contractors or most builders would throw that into a bin and order a new lift of wood and rebuild it. One, we don't have the budget to do that. And the second thing is, like, that's a giant waste of resources. And it's just way better end product to take existing materials and rework them into something that will be functional for the next 60 years. And so that, I think, as far as like, if I were doing it to make a living, there's no way that I would do that as a vocation. But if I can do it to chase a dream and to create something that is like, I don't want to say a gift to the community, that's too big of a word, but like a contribution to the community, that does carry meaning, and it does pull you through the days that if it were just for a paycheck, you would certainly not sign up for that.
That's fair. I get that. You can see how much blood, sweat, and love has gone into this place. It's really remarkable to see. And tears, yeah. I was
right
trying
now,
to get some positives in there.
It's all smiles and laughs now, but for 2 years it does tend to be more challenges and more hurdles than wins, and then all of the wins are kind of
Post-dated.
they're post-dated until we can see like people in here with big grins on their face and smiling and having the best times of their life and like actually creating memories with their families and friends, like that.
And
that is the validation.
I can just say a 6-year-old was in here for their birthday party the other day. Best time of their life. I have it straight from the source.
Sorry, this way we can hear both of you simultaneously.
Yeah.
I'm not taking a mic away from you. There's still a mic on you. Just so you know.
Yeah.
Dang, I'm glad to hear it. Best time of their life. That's good. Get it in early.
Yeah.
That's an early peak. But
Well, and if we can get a 6-year-old in here having the best time of their life, in like 13 years they'll be our target customer for the beer. So.
Not that anybody's counting.
We got bills to pay, so I mean, like, we're not proud.
Let's talk about those beers. You have some remarkably named beers. What do you have on tap right now?
We have the Liftoff Lager on tap 1. We have the 5-pin, because we're a bowling center, Hazy Pale Ale. We've got the Alpenglow Sour, because from Cranbrook there's a beautiful view of the Rockies, and as they turn pink at sunset, there's some remarkable alpenglow. We have the terms and conditions West Coast-ish, because we're not quite on the West Coast, and neither is this beer. IPA. We have the business time New Zealand IPA, and then the second breakfast stout, smoked stout.
They know about second breakfast, Pip?
Yeah. we have in the past played with 11sies and all of the things.
That's great. Why? What's led to these beers? Like, I hear you have a brewmaster that's rather remarkable.
Yeah, he's really weird. So a lot of these strange names just leap into being. No, it's like with all things, we believe in having fun with it. The New Zealand hops in the IPA brings Flight of the Conchords into mind. So then business time makes all of the sense in the world. It's like, maybe don't look up that song unless you're 18 or older. But it's, yeah, we do everything that we do because we really enjoy having fun with it, and then we cross our fingers and hope like heck that other people also enjoy them. But so far, it's been amazing. Like, people 100% lean into all of the crazy fun shenanigans that we have. So Liftoff Lager's our number one seller, and it's like, that was basically like, it was our launch pad. It was the thing that sort of christened the beginning of Encore Brewing Co.
That's the name.
Thus the name.
Well picked names.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I was very excited when I saw Second Breakfast. We were over in the corner quoting Lord of the Rings, but it's, yeah.
We like, all of us that work here are nerdy in some capacity, and whether it's the head chef, the brewer, we all just love the fact that we can be nerds and call it a vocation at the same time.
Not a bad vocation. Then we're just about at the end of our conversation, I'd say. But for a last question then, what's your favorite nerdy thing about all of your businesses? Or honestly, in general, what's your favorite nerdy thing?
Huh.
This maybe doesn't fall into the nerdy category, but the idea that we can drink beer and eat delicious food and hang out with the coolest people and call that a job, like, to me, I nerd out on that fact. I think that's the sweetest thing ever. I think we do what we would do if we were to win the lottery and money was not an issue for us. This is what we would be doing with our time. So like that's where I nerd out, is the fact that we get to live really sweet lives. We work our faces off and we take big risks and all of that, but we get to do really cool things with our time and call that a job. And it pays the bills. It allows us to, be in our kids' life and be home every night. Those are all things that I just think are the sweetest part about it.
That's awesome. That's good to hear.
We get to go on mountain bike rides with our coworkers. We get to go disc golfing mid-afternoon when most people would be working a 9 to 5. We get to play a lot more than we would if we were doing a serious job.
That's awesome. I have a lot of questions about the disc golfing scene, but that's really another interview.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was
a big deal.
I'm so curious, but we'll focus on Encore for
Okay.
now. What about you? What is your favorite nerdy thing?
Yeah, I think a terrible way of saying what Fred just said is that we've kind of monetized fun and just having a great experience. I don't know. We've just been very lucky. We get to pick all of our favorite things, our favorite activities, our favorite foods, our favorite drinks, and put them in a place and have that place attract your favorite type of people. Yeah, that's hard to beat.
Beautiful answers to a funny question.
And I'll just add that, like, having fun is not overrated. People should do it more. It is a thing it's a worthy goal in and of itself to just go have fun. So
I agree completely. We're traveling around BC just to talk to people. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you two feel we haven't touched on in terms of Encore that you want to talk about? You want people to know? Anything that comes to mind that people should know about Encore?
Well, we hope that Encore is a world-class experience, not just for a small BC town, but like hopefully it's as cool as anything that one would experience if we were traveling to to Victoria or to Quebec or anywhere that people would travel to go. Hopefully, the experience that one can have here would match that level of expectation from anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, the beer is certainly holding fast to that. So there's no reason that a small BC town can't have something that's world class.
We have world class scenery, world class. In many ways, Cranbrook and surrounding areas is already world class. We just want to match that with the amenities that we offer.
Well said. Well said. Well, I think you've done it, I'd say,
Well, thank you.
walking in here. But yeah, thank you two so much for your time.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been so cool sitting in your brewery with you, watching people bowl. There's been some successes behind us, which has been cool to see. I feel like someone got a strike, but I don't know for sure. But yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you everybody for joining us today. This has been us at Encore Brewing with Jesse and Fred. Thank you two so much, and thanks everybody for watching.
We can break it down and see the little things. Tear it
Hey there, folks. Welcome back to Dusty Tracks BC. Here we are at the Cranbrook pub. Quite a historical place. Definitely a lot of memories made here by some famous people and definitely the locals as well. I believe the first bricks were laid for this building back in the early 1890s in in preparation for King George VII. Jumping off the railway station there, you might have caught it behind me there. Nowadays, it is a lovely local watering hole. Also, quite the venue, as we will find out a little later, hopefully. Yeah, a venue for performing arts, live music, comedy tours, and some special surprises as well. Joining me again, we have Ferdy Belland. Yeah, pleased to sit down and chat more about the history of this local gym. Here we are. Hey, Ferdy, how are you doing?
Good. How are you, Mike?
Good. Thanks for joining us again.
Thank you. Welcome to the Cranbrook Hotel Pub, where Cranbrook began.
Yeah, let's go inside here and check it out.
Entrez-vous.
Yeah.
So I don't mind the tastefully shattered door glass.
Oh, it's a local special.
Well, as you can see, we are a comfortably broken in, like a security blanket, working class pub
Yeah.
with a 120 patron capacity in here. And our benefactor, Mr. Daryl Ogilvie of the Kimberley Ogilvies, has allowed us in the music world here in Cranbrook and Kimberley to run hog wild as far as producing live music, bringing in comedy shows, bringing in like hip hop and rap artists all over the map. We've had a ladies' fashion night. It's just been wonderful for the past year, and just gets better and better. As you can see, we have a sizably appointed stage with an overkilled PA system running about 3,000 watts per side. So
That's,
guaranteed to rattle the fillings out of the toughest molars.
Yeah, that looks like a little bit taller than you are there.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's kind of like the 2001 monolith, only it's a little louder. And no, this is great. We've had some very wonderful moments here and wonderful moments coming up. Fall of Earth, the up-and-coming heavy metal band from Edmonton, is coming here tomorrow night. Plus, our hometown heroes Leather Apron Revival will be here on Saturday. We've got 1990s alternative rock heroes Econoline Crush coming here on June 11th, believe it or not. We're working on getting Pink Mountaintops coming here on July 20th, and on and on and on it goes. So, again, yeah, one size fits all here at the Cranbrook Hotel Pub. And it's great. It's been going really well.
Yeah, it sounds like similar to the Armand Theatre, quite the venue for a local music scene and also a local performing arts scene, and just another great spot to check out in Cranbrook.
Well, yes, the Cranbrook Hotel Pub joins what I call the Cranbrook family of venues. It's kind of like stacked like Russian Matryoshka dolls, where you start off with this venue, which holds 120 people. A parallel to this is, again, the studio stage door with 83 people. This is for the sit-down events. Moving on up, then with the Armin Theatre, we'll be able to handle events of 200 to 450 people. And then we end up at the Key City Theatre with 602 seats. And beyond that, we get into the Memorial Arena and the Western Financial Place, which can hold audiences of over 4,000 people for various sporting and arts and cultural events. So, it's all part of like the building blocks, and yeah, so far so good. This is the only cabaret style live venue that currently exists in the combined Cranbrook and Kimberley world, so we're happy to develop it and improve it.
That's wild. Can you tell me a bit more about the history of the Cranbrook pub?
Well,
Hotel
the
pub?
Cranbrook Hotel, the reason why we use the funky quip where Cranbrook began is because, well, it's true, because the Cranbrook Hotel is the first permanent structure that was built in Cranbrook in the mid-1890s. And it was built as soon as it was established that the Canadian Pacific Railway was going to establish the railhead here.
Right.
And so Cranbrook built up along it. We had, Baker Street goes off, to the east. We have Highway 3 running from the southwest to the northeast. We have 8th Avenue, Hanson Avenue, as it were, in the old maps, running from here down to 4th Street, and so far so good. I mean, and the way it works here is that here in the pub, this was the original banquet room and dining hall. The secondary pub, which is across the service alley here, which is now known as the Sportsman's Pub, that was the beer parlor. And just over the decades, as businesses come and businesses go, just over the last 130 years, it's developed that. Now we have two separate licensed establishments, two separate pubs under one roof, which is extremely rare for British Columbia. As far as I know, and from talking with the liquor branch authorities, this is the only hotel in the province of British Columbia where we have two separate pubs under the same roof.
Yeah, that's pretty strong. I don't think I've ever come across that before. In all across BC or anywhere really.
Oh, for sure. No, same with us, especially when we try and get adventurous and sneak beer from one room across to the next. That's when things get really lively.
Old bootlegging.
A proud Cranbrook tradition, bootlegging.
So later on this week, we have, I've been seeing them all over town, but of course we haven't been documenting them. The posters that have been put up, quite a variety of music talent coming through.
Yes.
Yeah.
And well, again, like the local talent here in Cranbrook is top notch, and it covers a wide variety of stuff. I mean, like we have pop divas in town like Madison Keever. We have hard rock heroes like Leather Apron Revival. We have heavy metal bands like Phaeton. We have like a whole lot of people operating in the blues and the folk scenes. We have jazz being represented by the Little Jazz Orchestra. For the fact that we only have a city or a combined Cranbrook-Kimberley population of about 30,000 people together, the arts quotient is quite bustling.
Yeah, quite busy. And definitely looking to stay that way for quite a while with new venues opening.
And how?
You yourself, you've played in a few bands, and you still continue to.
Yes, I do.
Will
yes,
you?
For better or for worse, kicking the can, because after all, when you're a member of the Canadian Underground Musicians Network, you are earning tens and tens of dollars. But so, I've been involved in the music scene for over 30 years. One of my more notable achievements is I played bass in Biff Naked's band from 2018 until 2021, but I play bass for Phaeton, I play bass for Garuda, I play bass for Ethan Askey and the Elevators, I play bass for the Brotherhood of Lost Souls, I play bass for Madison Keever's band. It's just, and that, well, nobody wants to play bass. Everybody wants to sing lead. Everybody wants to be a lead guitarist. And so, hey, when you got a bass, I mean, your email never stops blinking, your phone never stops ringing, and you know they even like find out where you live and they ring the doorbell. So yeah, my schedule gets booked up really quickly.
So how do you continue to you know work on I would say externally challenging venues, opening up new venues for the area, and you know and find time to play?
Well, that is one of those philosophical, esoterical, metaphysical questions that I can't quite answer. Basically, it's one day at a time, one gig at a time. But to be serious about it, it's just, I mostly wanted to remain a performing musician, but I got into events promotion by default because nobody else was promoting events. I saw the need for establishing venues of various sizes, but nobody wanted to do it. And the way it works in any arts community, whether it's in, you know, Cranbrook or Toronto or wherever, is the first part of the triangle is you need the talent, the performers, the artists, whatever artistic discipline that you're in. The second chunk of the trifecta is a venue, whether it's an art gallery or if it's a live venue or a radio station or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the third chunk of it is having the sympathetic and encouraging media to promote the artists and to promote the events and just to bring the community awareness around, whether it's at a civic level or a regional level or a provincial level or even a national level, because you need to let people know that this stuff's happening.
Yeah.
And so I just did it because I was foolhardy enough to try it, and just through trial and error and through triumph and failure and just through just reverse engineering and just kicking the can just over the past 30 years, I've had a fairly decent track record of small and medium and large scale concert promotion. And so I bring that to the element of developing the Armin Theater, and I bring it to here.
Yeah, you're also
as well.
Yeah, you also promote a lot of the artists that come through here, don't you? Or the events that come through here.
Some of them. I'm not the only one. Like I'm
Yeah.
not a big fish in a small pond or anything like that, right? I mean, like my head may be big, but my ego is not. So it's like we have people here in town. We have, you know, Galen Olstead at the Key City Theater. We have F.J. Hertak from the Kootenai Concert Connection, who has almost a 40-year history of bringing large-scale events into town. We have Mike Davis from Krabby Productions. We have Isaac Hockley from HM Productions. There's a number of people who do the logistical work and create the structural bones so that these events happen. It's not just me. I'm just part of the team.
That's great. Yeah. So, you as part of the team, why do you think it's important to, you know, bring in artists and have that side of culture come into a town like Cranbrook? Or like why is it important to have you know, that sort of art promoted in the town?
Because Cranbrook deserves it. And again, I mean, I got into it not so I can, you know, adjust an imaginary bow tie in a mirror or something and say, look how cool I am. I did it again to start off with because there weren't a lot of other people doing it. There was already artistic and cultural precedents being set in Cranbrook over the generations, because I mean, it's, again, like I was saying before, like good culture in Cranbrook is nothing new. Cranbrook has a jazz music history which stretches back to World War II. We have a community theater history which stretches back to the Diefenbaker era. We have wonderful actors. We have, you know, like dancers and sculptors, and you know, it's not just skidoos and F-350s around here, right? And yes, it's important because, hey, if we're going to call ourselves the key city of the Kootenays, we better mean it. And that means, you know, not just having the finest Walmart in southeastern British Columbia, but again, having these colorful cultural events, whether it's the Children's Festival or whether it's the Farmers Market or whether it's, geez, you name it, you know, Spirit of the Rockies. Or, I mean, we used to have a wonderful classic car meet, Rockin' in the Rockies, which I hope gets reborn sooner or later, but I can't do it because I'm busy. So again, I'm not doing anything new. I'm not doing anything foreign or alien or exotic. I'm just doing what I can to bring in the culture and the art that I know to Cranbrook, because as we've seen, gig after gig, event after event, here or elsewhere, there's an audience for it. There's a sizable chunk of the Cranbrook community that wants to see this sort of stuff be part of the cultural mosaic and part of the events calendar here in town. And so I'll do what I can. You know, I mean, like I said, I need a 31-hour day and an 18-day week, but you know, until that happens, hopefully others can be inspired to do the same thing, just to get involved and to help make things happen, because as my dad said, it's not rocket surgery. This stuff's actually easy to do. It's just putting the time aside and the desire to do it. And so again, because I am fortunate enough to have Daryl Ogilvie and his daughter Kimberly trust me with creating this, you know, and all you see on the posters on the wall, bringing that in, you know, it's growing and it's getting more and more wonderful show after show. And so who knows what tomorrow may bring.
Oh,
But
I think
what will tomorrow bring?
Tomorrow we'll bring our friends, here, walk with me. Direct from Edmonton, Alberta, the rising heavy metal heavyweights known as Fall of Earth, who were here back in January, and they blew the roof off the place. Amazing young band.